Spokane listens when business talks. Welcome to Business Talks, the region's only local business talk show with your host, Ryan McNeice. Business Talks is brought to you by our friends at STCU and Well Dressed Walrus. Now, let's get down to business with Business Talks.
Welcome to Business Talks. I'm Ryan McNeice, and we're here in the studio with Amber McKenzie. Hey, Amber McKenzie, publisher and owner at Natural Awakenings Inland Northwest. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I appreciate the chance to chat with you. There are trials and tribulations that come about when you're trying to create a magazine like this and determining the audience that you're vying for. But you have more of a backstory in terms of how you got here and why you're doing what you're doing. Give us a little bit of the background of how you even got to here today in terms of producing this magazine.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's something that I would have never anticipated happening to me, but it kind of evolved. I originally went to Eastern Washington University, so I'm from the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area, and I love this area. I grew up here, and I went to Eastern. I got a degree in communications, public relations, and I thought my path in life was going to be in PR. Like, that's where I was going. And I love journalism. My minor was in journalism, so I was really interested in, press releases and writing and that type of thing. And so, but then there was a kind of a sudden change in my life, and that was I traveled for the first time in my life to Japan through Mukagawa Fort Wright Institute, and that changed the course of my life as far as kind of career aspirations. And so because of travel, I ended up going overseas and wanting to stay there. And so I traveled internationally. I ended up teaching English as a second language. And then I kind of I lived in Brazil for almost a year, taught English, really loved it, loved experiencing different cultures, people, customs, language, all of those things. And so,
do you think that is the core of what you described? It was really a kind of a light bulb went off, so to speak, that it changed your life in that initial travel to Japan. At the core, what was it that changed you?
It's funny. I think I did not realize there was a world beyond my
sphere.
Spokane, Coeur d'Alene area.
Not abnormal.
Yeah. And so when I went to Japan, I felt like I was almost on a different planet in that it was just, everything was so new, so different. Every day felt like 5 days, it was exciting. I felt alive. I really felt alive.
And culturally, Japan is a significant diversion versus potentially a London or Paris is a more, not so much.
Yeah, there's more cultural distance between Japan and America as opposed to, let's say, Australia or Canada. So that was really transformational for me. And it was amazing. And so I kind of went on this almost 23-year path of travel, marketing, international education, basically. And it brought me back to Spokane after Brazil and to Gonzaga University. So I'd worked there for 13 years in international education. And, worked my way up, loved it, loved international students. I traveled for the university.
Utilize that passion and kind of combine the career as well.
It was perfect. It worked out really well. I was able to be in Spokane, but also get away from Spokane and, just experience kind of life in other places. And so it was really fantastic. And, my mom and I were very close, and she lived in Post Falls. And so wherever my mom was kind of my home, if you will. And so
Your base.
Exactly. It was my base. And so I always came back. I lived with her for a while, and it wasn't because I had to. It's because I wanted to, and she wanted me to.
You enjoyed the relationship.
Exactly. So, and so that was really a great time in my life, was working for Gonzaga. And I ended up being the director of international admissions, international student and scholar services. And like I said, I was able to travel for the position. It's just kind of an expectation of the work, which was great, except for then I had 2 kids, so two daughters.
Yeah.
And of course, when you have a family, it's just a lot harder to travel,
Right.
especially for 3-4 weeks at a time.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic.
It really changes the dynamic. And so what happened was I was still traveling, and it was just kind of more of a struggle, because before I was, carefree, kind of had the ability to travel without any problems, no family at home.
Scheduled to and fro at any convenient time for work and move on.
I could just drop everything and go. And so when I had kids, it was just a lot different. So that was one kind of change that happened, that I thought, I wonder if I should do this for the rest of my life, or if there's another opportunity out there. And then, so I kind of, thought, well, maybe there's another path for me, but I'm not going to pursue it right now, And then my mom, who, like I said, I was very close to, she had a heart condition, she had a diseased heart, and she had 2 mechanical valves, and then she had to get a third. And
so a long-time health issue with
a
her
long-time
heart.
health issue, yeah. And, of course, I expected my mom to live to 100, but she slowly started to deteriorate, and her body just was not doing functioning as it should.
Right.
And so I noticed these things, and I thought, oh no, this is not good. And so probably for the last year of her life, it was just, she didn't feel good. So I kind of anticipated that she wasn't going to live as long as I would have liked. And so I kind of dedicated my life, if you will, to her care. Obviously I still worked, but I really focused on my mom and just what she needed. And yeah, so in August of 2016, so almost 2 years ago, she passed away. And that was very, very difficult. And like I said, it was, the probably the most transformational moment of my life was when she was gone, because...
Well, it's interesting, as you've described, that travel originally was kind of the impetus for maybe a major first change, if you will, and then the trajectory of your career, and then with the passing of your mom, major turning point. Major.
And, really what I thought in my mind was, oh my goodness, if the most important person in my entire life is not here anymore, what's the point of my life?
What's the purpose?
What's the purpose? It was definitely one of those questions that I asked. And so I started, really going inward, really kind of assessing my life and what is it that I was doing. I still loved my job, but, I wasn't as challenged as I had been, because I'd worked my way up and I'd been challenged the whole time. And then suddenly I was kind of like, okay, where do I go from here? I didn't want to get my PhD. I'd gotten my master's at Gonzaga in Communication and Leadership Studies, which was an amazing program and helped me with that position, but also ended up helping me with my new career.
Funny how those things happen, right?
Exactly. It's so funny. But anyway, so then I, just kind of... but before my mom had passed away, she had visited with my sister, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my sister actually has a Natural Awakenings magazine in Charlotte.
Okay.
And so my mom brought it home to me from the Mayo Clinic. She had to go there for heart surgery. But she brought it back, and I took the magazine, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. It's, it's a positive magazine. It's natural. It's holistic. It's interesting. It's kind of information that I wanted.
Emotionally is resonating with you at that time.
And so when I picked it up, I thought, wow, Spokane and Coeur d'Alene needs a magazine like this. And then literally on the next page it said, would you like to have this magazine in your market?
You're like, okay, that is a little apropos.
Yeah.
And I think we have the June and the July version right here.
Yeah.
And so from the inception of talking to your sister in Charlotte, and she's doing a version of the Natural Awakenings, from start to finish in the decision of, like you said, turn the page and said, would you like to have your own magazine? What is the timeline we're looking at? Yeah,
so from the time I picked up the magazine to when I published my first issue, it was about 2 years.
Okay.
So it was definitely this was a spark.
Okay.
And then it just started to kind of grow, and then my mom passed away, and obviously that was a turning point where I thought, okay,
I need to make a change.
I need
potentially.
to make a change. And so, so then from the point where I purchased the magazine in January 2017.
2017, okay.
And then I published the first issue in September.
Okay.
So it was about 9 months. It's like a baby, really.
Well, to me, it is ironic, as we've been discussing, that your background actually almost seems like it fits like Tetris in terms of somewhat perfect for this path that you're on.
Yeah.
You've probably read The Alchemist, which
definitely.
that book leads you to believe some of this stuff is it's as it should be, right?
Yes, exactly.
So in that 9-month period of bringing it to fruition, what were some of the challenges that there's probably a plethora of them, but maybe hit on a couple that you really ran into had to overcome to really bring this to market?
Sure. So one of them would be, first of all, this magazine is in over 80 markets in the United States, but the closest one to Spokane and Coeur d'Alene would be Portland and Seattle.
Okay.
So a lot of people around here hadn't heard of it,
right.
You weren't familiar with it, whereas like on the East Coast, it's kind of in a lot of different cities, and so a lot of people were more familiar with it there, or Midwest even. But so kind of getting the word out was one of the challenges, and also securing advertisers right from the beginning, so that I could publish my first issue. And so
because it is free, right?
It's free,
and so it's free, and that goes without saying. Obviously, through support and advertising, allows you to cover publication costs.
Exactly. And so what I did was really reach out to as many people as I could in the holistic community, networking, kind of getting the word out about what the magazine is and what it does, because it's more than, for advertisers, and what I say is partners, because I feel like they're partners as much as advertisers, but it's...
You wouldn't be able to do it without them, right?
Right,
So,
I couldn't do it without them,
yeah.
exactly. And so I really wanted to show that it was more than an ad. It was education, it was, content, it was really helping them market themselves in the way that is meaningful for them and telling their story. Because I think stories are what resonates.
Associating with your brand, associating with what the stories you're trying to tell.
Exactly. Yes. The other challenges were kind of finding a printer and finding the different. But what's nice about the magazine is that I had someone that was helping me with editing already, because it's a magazine in many markets, so there's lots of people familiar with how to create the magazine every month
as a structure.
Exactly. And then I did a training in Florida, which is where the magazine was founded, and so that was really helpful. And then I have a group of 80 other publishers that I go to when I have questions or
you can
help.
reach out to.
So it's really nice support.
I'm fascinated with it, because it sounds like as the publisher you have the artistic and final say in terms of the articles that go in there, and so I'd imagine most of your week is directed at figuring out what the next concept, what the next story, what the next theme, and what you want to be associated with.
Yes.
I mean, your name's on it.
Exactly. And it's so that's true. And what's nice is that every month there's kind of a theme, and so what I turns out I'm also good at, I feel like, is that Tetris, kind of putting the pieces together. So if I know there's an article coming up on, let's say, biofeedback, I'll think, I've got a biofeedback person that I can go to. Maybe there's some new biofeedback people that I can talk to about either submitting an article or a sidebar or an ad, just really engaging my current partners and potential partners in the content of the magazine and getting them excited about what's in there.
Right.
And the other thing that's funny is sometimes I'll have an idea and I'll just go with it, and it will go a completely different direction. And then it ends up something different, but still really cool.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's kind of nice.
You had no idea where it was going to go.
I had no idea.
It is, again, the irony sometimes of ideas that you don't think are going to work, and I'll give it a shot, and it actually does.
Yes.
And then vice versa.
Exactly.
Let's take a short little break and come back talking about Natural Awakenings with Amber McKenzie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
The following is sponsored by our friends and community supporters at McNeice Wheeler Attorneys. McNeice Wheeler is a boutique law firm in Spokane, handling matters in both Washington and Idaho. Areas of law include business law, wills, trusts and estates, family law, personal injury and wrongful death, and real estate matters. For your full-service legal needs, contact McNeice Wheeler, attorneys.
The economy is getting stronger, banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
Welcome to Business Talks, and thanks for coming back. We're talking to Amber McKenzie, publisher and owner of Natural Awakenings, Inland Northwest. Thank you. It's been interesting for me to understand how you bring a magazine to publication. One of our hosts, Stephanie Regalado, that does She Says, she does the editor editing for Spokane Coeur d'Alene, so you guys probably cross paths.
Yes, we have.
Given that this is in several markets throughout the country, and kind of the origin, or at least for you communication-wise, was your sister in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as I think you said the base is in Florida.
Yes.
But given that it is in diverse markets, how do you make this magazine work for our area? And I think we all know Pacific Northwest, whether it be Spokane, Portland, Coeur d'Alene, Seattle, we do things sometimes differently around here. There's a different psychology. How do you localize this publication?
Good question. You know, every market that publishes a Natural Awakenings, they're very different magazines. And like you said, it depends on the market. Let's say, you know, somewhere, Portland even, there's a lot more, what do I want to say, kind of alternative type.
Portlandia,
exactly.
Right.
It's more accepted there to have kind of alternative type you know, energies and that type of thing. Whereas here, we want to go more health, wellness, you know, acupuncture, chiropractic, naturopathy, and functional medicine, that type of thing. And so really you have to look at your market and your audience, of course. And so, but how each publisher makes it local to their community is there's several ways. First, in the front of the magazine, there's a letter from publisher, which, you know, every publisher writes their own letter. And so I have a letter from the publisher every month. And then we also have what I love and what I think our readers really love are news briefs. And so those are little short snippets of information about what's going on in our holistic community in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and everywhere in between. And I'm also up in Sandpoint. And so that could be a new chiropractor, you know, or let's say there's a new business that's just open, maybe a massage therapy business, or, you know, and oftentimes I'll get content from my partners. I'll say, hey, do you have anything newsy, new, interesting, a class, something to share?
Trending.
Yeah. And they don't have to be advertisers. I also take content from anyone really that's in the holistic.
If it's within the theme.
Exactly.
I think the fact that you're doing these smaller, almost truncated vignettes, though, I mean, in our internet-driven world, in terms of I'll watch for 5 seconds, but nothing more.
Exactly.
You know, someone can read, you know, and these are shorter versions of something, like you said, that is relevant to your local reader.
Exactly. And so it's kind of fun to kind of get snippets. And like I said, people really like those. This issue in particular had several. And then I also have health briefs, which those can come from the kind of main Natural Awakenings. Or, you know, like I said, if I have an advertiser that has a really cool therapy that they want to share, kind of a short article on, I'll put it in my health briefs. And then we'll give them the kind of bio at the end to say who they are and what they do. And then the other thing we do is obviously advertisements. Those are local. I also do a farmer's market guide. So that, you know, this one in particular was sponsored by Greenstone. So you can, advertisers or partners can sponsor like a calendar. And this is fun because it's just 5 months out of the year, so it's the farmers markets and it's kind of the weekly. And we have readers that definitely use this every month. They want to know where the farmers markets are.
Farmers market, whether you're in Walla Walla, Spokane, Portland, Coeur d'Alene, it's just become more and more popular.
It's huge. And so then the other thing that makes it local are the sidebars and articles from local practitioners. So if we have an article, kind of a main feature on anti-inflammatory foods, I might ask a nutritionist from the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area to do a sidebar article on something related to that main feature.
It's relevant to that.
Exactly. And then, we have a natural pet section, which is really fun. So, and I have, my back page is 3 really cool holistic pet stores. I'll get them to do something on, the best foods to feed your dog, or the best foods to feed your cat, that kind of thing.
If you're a cat or a dog person,
exactly.
Depends on which.
It depends on which,
or both.
And then at the very back there are calendars. So there's a calendar of events. So that could be for the month of the issue, and then also I have ongoing events. So let's say something happens every Sunday or every Thursday, we'll put that in the ongoing section.
But it sounds like the layout, if you will, is fairly consistent. So I picked this up in June. If I start to know this particular magazine, the sections that you've described, I know that the calendar, hey, what's going on? It's going to be towards the back. That makes sense.
And then let me just, the coolest part, I think, is the community resource guide. And what that is almost like a yellow pages for natural holistic providers in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area. So you could go here and the category is alternative behavioral health or autoimmune disorders, chiropractic, functional medicine practices, halotherapy, which, I mean...
You don't know what that is? I don't.
Yeah,
but I will, because
exactly.
I can read this.
Respiratory wellness, the Salt Room of Spokane. So it's different categories and then providers underneath. So let's say you're new to the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area. This is a great place to go if you need a acupuncturist or a chiropractor. So I really like this section, and I think it gets a lot of good traffic.
Well, because you've created a built-in trusted network.
Yes.
As you said at the beginning, these partners, if you will, that are all under the relevant themes. If someone is interested in these given areas, you've created that network.
Exactly.
And it's all in one spot.
Well, and what's nice is that the providers in the magazine also network with each other.
Right.
And so we try to find opportunities to, work together.
Collaborate.
So it's kind of, exactly.
Absolutely. How do you determine what the overall amount of these that you publish? Because if you are in Coeur d'Alene, you are in Spokane, how do you determine that?
Well, so right now I print or publish 10,000 every month.
Wow.
And then I distribute to over 200 locations in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area and Sandpoint. And then the readership, overall, the Natural Awakenings estimates that 2.2 readers will read one, so it's about 22,000.
That's interesting. I always find that fascinating. 2.2.
2.2.
Who's the 0.2?
Exactly. Who's that 0.2? Maybe it's the dog or cat.
Yeah, if they had the good food from the back here.
Right,
but,
exactly.
How do you actually, of the 2.2 per and the 10,000 that go out to the relevant markets, how do you physically get them from A to B? Who's doing that?
Well, right now it's me.
Okay, we could do a whole half an hour on this, because I'll bet the stories behind getting from A to B have been interesting.
It's fun. No, I'm actually looking for a distribution kind of coordinator to help me. But in the beginning, you really need to know where they're all going.
Right.
And of course, I get to know different businesses when I drop them off there. And so it's been really fun to get to meet new people.
I would think that, I think you, as you're describing that tangible feel of where is my product going, what's the environment that it's in, and some of the pictures we've had based on the magazine is you literally there with the bin of hundreds of these that you know where these are going.
Yes.
Now, if you ended up economies of scale here in the future, if there's different types of distribution, maybe that'll make sense at the time.
Right.
But probably good to do it the way you've been doing it.
Yeah, I think so. It's worked out well. Now I'm increasing, every month I try to get at least 10 new sites where I can distribute the magazine. I try to get at least 25 in a location. Before I was putting like 2 or 3 on a table, in the beginning.
2.2.
Yeah, 2.2. 2.2. Exactly.
But that's actually, that's that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty progressive that you're looking to do that many more each time.
Exactly. And sometimes, I go to conventional grocery stores, where you kind of rent space, but I definitely highlight the ones that have that organic section, or, because it's a niche market publication, so it's really geared toward people interested in health, wellness, sustainability, eco living, mindfulness, those types of things.
In our last minute here, I mean, clearly we're showing examples of the different June and July versions, but give us a way that folks can find out more. What's their best way to either get in contact with you or find out general information on how they get their copy?
Well, I am always reachable. I love when people call or text or
because you have the
get
editor's note right up front.
So on page 4 of most issues, I've got my contact us, my telephone number. Our website is inwakenings.com. And then my email is amber@inwakenings.com. And so I always encourage people to, call me, text me, email me. And then, of course, I've got a Facebook page, which is INW Awakenings. And also Instagram. So I get lots of messages through Instagram and Facebook. So that's been good. I also did a video. I had a company do a video for me, and that was really helpful to get kind of that brand recognition out there.
Brand
and I got
awareness.
lots of great feedback from that too.
Amber, first of all, I appreciate you being here. And I think you embody what this is. I think your lifestyle, your background, trials and tribulations included, has led you to a neat challenge that you've persevered and created something neat for our not only the Inland Northwest, but obviously this magazine's throughout the country.
Yeah, exactly.
So appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Thank
Business
you.
Talks is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Business Talks is brought to you by our friends at STCU and Well Dressed Walrus. Business Talks wishes you good business and a good day.